This is my internal assessment, which I have titled the Homeless Shelter Multi-Use Interface. The goal of this program is to alleviate the possible inconveniences of managing a homeless shelter by providing quick solutions to keeping track of who is present using a check-in system, as well as offer concise and quick summaries which may provide solutions to inquiry about specific illnesses or medical conditions. In this scenario, I'm going to pretend that I am one of the homeless clients who is curious about the features of the resources and also checking in for the day. By running the program, I am introducing the user interface main menu, which displays the available options for the user. It is very simple and extends the overall idea of providing a simple and accessible region for any client wanting to use the program. As you can see, there are numbers assigned to each option, which allows the user to traverse through the given options, which appeals to the overall idea of traversability, which I had listed in my success criteria. To begin, I'm going to start by listing the resource index. By inputting 1, I'm able to access this list of extensive resources, which provide the names and information of the more common medical conditions within homeless populations, which I have retrieved from a website called NHS Inform. At the bottom, the program implies that you are able to return to the main menu by typing back and continue interacting with the listed information by typing the names exactly as they are listed. As you can see, the structure is organized into alphabetical order to make it easier for the user to navigate through the list. So let's say I had anxiety. By inputting anxiety, I am able to access information on the condition. It says, anxiety. Anxiety is a feeling of unease, like worry or fear, that can be mild or severe. It can be an extension of overstimulation in the brain, prohibiting relaxation and often being problematic to control. The wide variety of symptoms may include restlessness, sense of dread, difficulty concentrating, dizziness, tiredness, muscle aches or tension, trembling or shaking, noticeable changes, palpitations, excessive sweating, shortness of breath, stomachache, headache, and dry mouth. As you can see, there are also resources that are listed, which include the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, or the Crisis Text Line. If I press 1, I can return to resources. Let's say I had vertigo. I'm going to type it exactly as it was listed, which you can see at the bottom. And then it also lists information. Now I'm going to input 1 to return to resources yet again, and show you the error handling feature. If I were to input something which is completely unrelated to something listed within this list, it will simply loop and compensate for whatever was listed. When I'm finally done with this region, I could input back and return to the main menu. Now let's say I wanted to access the sub-menu listed within the check-in visitor list region of the program. I can use the user input 2, and it will ask for a precautionary option of Y or N to ensure that I want to access this region. I'm going to input Y, and I'm going to access the sub-menu. In order to display the functionality of the region, I'm going to input 5 names and assign different variables to each one. So I'm going to input 1 for the check-in, and then I'm going to input these users. So let's say for the first one, I want to input the name Katy Perry. And then age, 40. I'm going to continue doing check-in by inputting 1, and then add in more names. So let's say Dwayne Johnson, 15. I'm going to continue putting names. Insert age, which is 20. And as you can see, when I'm inputting these names, there's also something that says save to client list files, which I will explain later. And then when I'm finally done, I can exit. Now that I have inputted these names, we can see that there's a display which displays the usage of the visitor list to full effect. There are 2 dynamic orders which I can output this visitor list in, which include oldest to newest and newest to oldest. This is achieved through the ordering implementations within the program, which allow the diversity within these 2 separate lists. As you can see, when I access the first one, the visitors are displayed in a specific order. But when I access a different one, then you can see that it's displayed in the opposite order. Another feature of this program is the ability to search up names within the list. Documentation is very important in the shelters because crime rates are very high and police officers or investigators may need to access information through previous faucets of information. So as you can see right here, if I input the name by selecting option 4, I could put Tupac Shakur, and that name is found in the list, and it says his date that he was visited. Now when I'm done, I can input 5 to finally exit to the main menu. And I can confirm this option by pressing no. I do not want to go back to the check-in/recent visitors section. Now, as you may have noticed earlier, the names which are input to the client list are stored into a separate file to ensure the data is conserved, which is over here. Overall, this program meets the requirements me and the client had set for its functionality. However, there are regions where expansion was 100% possible. One part of the program which I would have liked to complexify was the client list. I think that by editing administrative privileges which can access the client list, being able to edit or remove names from the list would have benefited the flexibility of the program and allowed the client to possibly fix any issues with the list management system manually. Another thing would have been the further implementation of algorithms to access online data, instead of manually having to implement the information to the resource menu, which made the task much more tedious and difficult. This would have bolstered the effectiveness and elaboration of this section and contributed to a more efficient program. The user interface seemed cluttered and could have offered a more pleasing aesthetic, and the requirements of user input could have been significantly lowered.